I was asked a question during the break, and although I answered it during the break as well, I think it's helpful to repeat it for everyone. And this is that Rinpoche spoke about the importance of developing joy and to really enjoy our practice, and that if we really enjoy it, that we will be able to stay concentrated and focused on it much more easily, not fall asleep. And it's not, and the question is, well, how do you develop joy in the beginning? And that is obviously very, very difficult and would seem to be artificial. And then Rinpoche gave the answer indirectly, which was that Shantideva started by telling the benefits. And so, and then even before that, first the benefits, then the information. So once we learn the benefits, then we're interested. If we're interested, we'll find out the information. And when we find out the information, then we see that, well, this is something that I need, that would be helpful for me. And then on that basis, when you feel that urgency, then you go into, doing the practice. And when it starts to become a bit effortless, I think that's what, when we start to really enjoy it. I don't think it means, oh, I'm having such a wonderful time, I'm so happy doing that. I don't think that sense of joy is going to be, blissful. I think it is more that, more on the sense of I enjoy doing that rather than I feel joyful doing that. I think that is, just looking at, what we enjoy doing. If you look at what is it that you enjoy doing, do you feel joyful doing it? Well, not really, but, it goes easily. You don't have to put much effort into it. And in a sense, it becomes fun. So that, I think, is a part of the process. And the more that we become used to it, it's, can become better. However, a piece of advice that I always emphasize over and over again is that the nature of samsara is that it goes up and down. That's the nature of samsara. And so it is going to be like that with our meditation. Some days we will enjoy it. Some days we will find it boring. Some days it will go well. Some days it won't go well. Nothing special. Don't make a big deal out of either going well or it not going well. Nothing special. That's just the nature of samsara. And you just keep on going. This Arma-like perseverance. I don't care that, doesn't matter. I'm just going to continue doing it. And that is on the basis of, not because you enjoy it, but because you understand the benefits. And based on the benefits, you understand that this is something that I need. I want and I need. So I think that is part of the process. But don't expect that it's going to be, so blissful and so on, maybe for some people, but I think that, there are different type of things. I'm just thinking, some people, we have this expression in English of being blissed out, which is more these people that are sitting there and, they're so blissed out and actually their mind is just off in some, God knows, where the mind is. But it actually is quite a dull state of mind. And, that's not when you talk about bliss in Buddhism, it's supposed to be a very sharp and subtle mind. But this blissed out is, you're in a daze and spaced out and so on. That's not what we're talking about. So a little bit more down to earth. So, some questions? Maybe you were shy because Rinpoche said that, he was afraid to ask a stupid question to His Holiness, so maybe you might have been shy to ask Rinpoche.
So my question, I have it kind of since a long time, but I was inspired again by the question about working. So I'm going to start working kind of my first job as a doctor next year. And it feels like the questions about working I hear in the context of Buddhism, they always tickle something in me, but at the same time, I want to ask the question in concerning dealing with life and death as a real confrontation, because we talk about it every day, but experiencing, like in my last year of studying it, in real confrontation, being in the place where children are born and in the same time in the place where everyone is dying in my face, it's a very direct confrontation with samsara, and in the same time practicing a lot kind of helps, but still I live in the system, and it's like, it feels like Buddhism and the perspectives try to give an upward spiral. Does it work like that? But in the same time living in a downward spiral, because the system is kind of destroying itself within
Depressing,
itself.
you mean?
Yeah, like as well, like you're in an environment that is supposed to help people getting healthy again, but the system I get to know is not having the intention anymore to help, but to create money, for example. So
but to what? What was the last word?
For example, to create money.
Right.
So there's a feeling of the whole intentions, the real intentions get lost. And I don't know if I have a on-point question, but maybe I want to hear your perspective on dealing with these things in the Western world and in this kind of job. Yeah.
Well, one thing that comes to mind that His Holiness has said, that our motivation is very, very rare, that it will be 100% pure. It won't be 100% pure. So we want it to be just, a Dharma-like intention, at least to a larger percentage than a worldly intention. But until we are at some, incredible level, there's still going to be some worldly intention in there, such as to make money. But I think the issue is that you want to be able to feel compassion for the patients without becoming emotional, in the sense of it upsetting you. If, like for example, not necessarily a doctor, but a parent, if your child is hurt and you have compassion, you want the child to, you have to take care of the child. But if your compassion to take care of the child, makes you cry, you're so upset that they are so hurt and so on that you can't even do anything, that's, compassion going to this extreme of emotion. So in a sense, and this is very difficult to make that balance, that you want to help them, but in a sense you have to have a little bit of a distance. And that distance is perhaps best made by understanding lack of the self, because when you become over-emotional, it's basically because you're thinking of me. I can't take this. It's too much for me. So that's that strong, grasping to a me. But you didn't mention this, but it was something that a friend of mine who's a surgeon was discussing with Rinpoche, and we were discussing the fact that when you are a surgeon, sometimes your patient dies on the operating table, and how you deal with that as the surgeon, and how it's So I mean, even if you're not a surgeon, your patients, you're treating them, and they die anyway. That not to feel guilty, that things don't arise from just one cause. Well, I didn't do it good, well enough, and so on. That death arises from a huge number of causes. So whether you are you make the mistake or you don't make the mistake, they will somehow die. I remember in Dharamsala, there was a mouse that was drowning in a puddle. It was the monsoon. And so I took the mouse out of the puddle and put it on the solid ground and walked away, and a hawk came and took it. So, like that was a very clear thing that, that mouse's time was up. And it didn't matter what I did. That, when your time is up, as they say. So, no extension. Because you're going to have to deal with that as a doctor. And again, samsara goes up and down. Your motivation will be, more pure some days and less pure other days. And the fact that you are getting a salary for it, well, of course, that's part of what you're getting from it. So it's just natural that you think of that.
Thank you for your insights. And maybe my question as well was very much more on the system point of view, like that there is like a huge system, that it's not only me, but I meant like, for example, that the economy wants money out of it instead of the hospital or the place to help people.
That is very... my surgeon friend also mentioned that
thing,
that the hospital gets paid not for the success of the hospital in curing, but for the number of patients that they treat. So it's like that in Austria as well as Germany. And if you are just a small person in the organization, and then you don't have much say, then you just try to do your best to cure as many people as you can. You just have to work within the confines of the system. What comes to mind is that samsara is quite horrible if you think about it. That I'm thinking in terms of a human life. You're a baby, you can't do anything, you have to go to school again, you have to deal with, puberty and all that stuff that comes. You have to get your education before you can be of any benefit. And then, like a bottle of milk, your body starts to expire. And it goes bad, and you don't have the strength, you can't hear. All these sort of things happen. So this is like the restrictions of the hospital, of the economy. Within the so-called, the rules of samsara, of how it works, you try to do the best that you can. That's the only way that you can. You have to accept what you can't change and then work within that to try to maximize the benefit. Yeah.
I think that there might be a good example. I don't know if get it correct. There's a sutra of the Buddha where some a lot of people were going on a traveling in a boat. I think 500 people, and one was getting agitated, threatening everyone, saying, "I will sink the boat." Well, what can you do as a captain? You have to save, let's say, the 499 people. Yeah, maybe you can explain this sutra in detail for us.
Well, this is the example where Buddha is, the point of that example
It's on
is
the
that,
motivation.
the point of the example is that in order to, the oarsman, the Buddha was the captain, and one of the oarsmen, the person rowing it, was going to kill the 499 passengers. And so in order to prevent that, the Buddha killed the oarsman. And the Buddha, the point of this was that the Buddha said that I am willing to accept the consequences, the karmic consequences, in order to benefit that, the 499, and to prevent the oarsman from building up that negative karmic potential from doing that killing. So as a bodhisattva, I will take on myself the negative consequences of that. So this is that, that willingness that if I need to, let's say, my house in India was completely infested with bed bugs. In the furniture, in the mud walls, completely infested. And it made it impossible for me to work, to sleep there, and so on. So I had two choices: either, give the victory to the other, which means give my house to the bed bugs and find some other place to live, which we're talking about, decades ago in Dharamsala, where you didn't have all this luxury that you have there now. It was very primitive. So, and I lived in a very primitive Indian hut. So, or take the life, fumigate the place and, get rid of the bed bugs that way. And so I fumigated the place, but, acknowledging that, well, in order to be able to continue my study and my translating and my work, I needed to do that, and whatever the negative consequences of that will be, you take it on. Now, what is very interesting about that, and it, is exactly what it says in the Abhidharma texts about karma, is that the initial motivation was, quite okay in terms of, I wasn't thinking really to benefit the bedbugs, but, to be able to be of more help to others, then I will, kill them. But so it wasn't that I was angry with the bedbugs, but when I was actually in the act of fumigating and spraying, then you get this attitude of "die, you bastard," and you really want to get it. So then that hostility comes up in actually doing it. That was very noticeable. So they say that the initial motivation and the motivation contemporaneous when you're doing it can be quite different, and when you're actually doing it, it's very hard for there not to be a disturbing emotion at that time.
And you didn't, I guess you didn't rejoice about it, yeah?
No, I didn't rejoice about it, and it certainly gave me some sort of bronchitis, so sort of almost instant karma type of thing from all the fumes of, fumigating the place. Anyway.
Does an intermediate state being accumulate karmic potential while in the intermediate state?
Does a bardo being act under the influence of Well, that's a difficult, I mean, one's trying to imagine what actually happens in the bardo. And in the bardo, the analogy is like in a dream. So if we kill someone in a dream, then it's in this category. There's a whole discussion in Abhidharma of two variables, whether the karmic impulse is enacted and whether it is reinforced. Reinforced, it's usually translated as collected or gathered, which doesn't give any meaning. So actually it means reinforced if you look at the meaning of it. And so reinforced means that, so if something is, let's say you think to do it, you decide to do it, but I'm going to go and let's say, I'm going to smack this mosquito. So I've decided to do that, and I go to smack it, and the mosquito flies away. It isn't enacted. Now, you can either enact it or not enact it, actually do it. But then reinforced means, and that's usually defined in terms of what's not reinforced. And what's not reinforced is doing it, for instance, in a dream, or doing it because you're ordered to do it, but you don't want to do it. Like, in the army, you're ordered to execute the enemy, and you don't want to do it, but you have to do it. So there's a whole list of types of behavior that are not reinforced. To be reinforced, you have to have actually decided to do it. So in the dream killing, it's not enacted. And it might be reinforced, it might not be reinforced. That you decide that you dream about going to hunt, and then you actually in your dream shoot something. So it's not enacted, but it is reinforced. So I would think that you could have a similar thing in the bardo, since the bardo is always explained as being similar to a dream. And it's the importance of these variables is that only if it is both enacted and reinforced is there certainty of the lifetime in which it will ripen. It will ripen if it is really benefiting or really harming your teacher or so on. It will ripen in this lifetime. If it is one of these 5 so-called heinous crimes of killing your mother, killing your father, then it's will ripen in the immediately following life. And then there are other types of behavior that will ripen in some specific lifetime after that. And if it is not both enacted and reinforced, then when they say it is uncertain, that uncertain doesn't mean that, maybe it won't have any consequence. It doesn't mean that. It means it's indefinite. It's uncertain in which lifetime it will ripen. It will ripen, because the one that it will be ripen in not this lifetime or the next time, but some lifetime after that, that's specific what lifetime it will ripen. And in this, it could be any, it could be a zillion lifetimes, from now. So something like that. So in the text, so I asked Rinpoche that in Chandrakirti's text, it's saying that the throwing karma that is activated is one that is both enacted and reinforced. And so I said, but it's going to ripen in the immediately following lifetime. And so that, what does that mean that it is certain? And he said that in that context, it means that it is certain that it will lead to birth, to rebirth. So it doesn't have that same meaning as it does in other contexts.
With respect to that point, the throwing karma that gets activated,
Yeah.
let's say a throwing karma that would, let's say, causes you to be reborn in the animal realm gets activated.
Right.
The Bardo being's body is already arising within as this, not an animal body, but in the form, in the shape, so
In
to
the
say.
shape as a chicken, for
As
example.
a chicken, let's say. The question is, I think in the Tibetan tradition, often it is said that when we do a lot of prayers, since the Bardo being has clairvoyance, the Bardo being will recognize when prayers or pujas are done for that Bardo being, with the belief that it might have a positive influence on how the Bardo being takes rebirth. Is that actually possible if the throwing karma is already activated to change that in the Bardo being? Can the Bardo
Well,
being
there are
actually-
two Abhidharma traditions on that. One says that it will have an effect, and one says that it won't.
Okay.
So I believe, although I'm not sure, that it's in Asanga's version, which is Mahayana, that it will be affected, and in Vasubandhu's version, which is Hinayana, that is not affected.
Ah, yeah, okay.
But in Abhidharma it says that the gender of the fetus can, change during, while it's still in the womb, which medically doesn't sound very probable. But I don't know. I mean, the doctor is here. But so likewise, the form that you could have in the Bardo could also change if the power of the prayers. But the prayer will be most effective if the person who offers the prayers and the one who has died had a very close relationship. So to just ask, anonymous monks in a monastery, to do it will not have as much effect as, the person's children or partner or whatever, they offer the prayers.
Would that then mean, though, that, let's say, the Bardo being gets influenced positively, recognizes that its mother or
Well,
whatever?
I don't know if it
Or at
recognizes
least-
that, but it is influenced.
But would there be a new throwing karma activated then? Or how does that change then? I mean, how can we explain that this change takes place?
How do you explain that the change place? I mean, what does karma do? Karma it's the urging karma. It is the karma it's the mental consciousness. So the throwing karma is the urging that will poke the mental consciousness to go into the Bardo and continue into a future life. So then the thing is, we're talking about what will be the result that will ripen from it. And the ripening result of throwing karma is the aggregates. And so, but it can ripen into something else. It's not. We shouldn't think that the result is sitting fixed inside the cause, and that it can't be influenced by other things. Before it is activated, there's no result sitting inside the so-called seed of karma. The tendency. But if we repeat the action, the power of it will get stronger. If we do opponent forces, it'll get weaker. There are many factors which will change the strength of it. So if that can happen, it hasn't completed ripening. I think. I mean, I'm just guessing here. In the Bardo, it's not going to change once they are reborn as a chicken that, you offer prayers and now they're going to, the example is that if they're born blind, your prayers aren't going to make them see again. That's the example that is given, not the chicken turns into a human being. But in the bardo, I really wonder how that works. But I would imagine that it hasn't finished giving rise to its result and can still be influenced. But I'm just guessing there.
Thank you.
Okay.
Happening in the bardo, visions and stuff like that in a dream. It's not, I mean, a dream isn't logical, is it?
No.
So I think in that way, bardo, it doesn't seem as though the visions and the things that happen in bardo should make sense. That's a cheap answer. Well, every 7 days you have a, that's another explanation. When will that change take place? That's a very good answer. Every 7 days you experience a small death, it's called. And then, again, you would appear. So maybe that's the place where it would happen. That would make good sense.
So I have a question about purification, which is always confusing me a bit. So we are in samsara since beginningless rebirth, since beginningless time.
Yeah.
So we have accumulated karma since beginningless time. So how is it possible to purify karma, all of the karma, when we are here? When the karmic seeds, shouldn't they also be in an infinite number? For me, this is a little bit of a contradiction between beginningless and lessen, and it's possible to lessen a number of karmic seeds, but when we have, there's no beginning point, so there isn't there an infinite number of karmic seeds? How can we then purify them to zero?
That's a very good question. That's a very good question. I really wonder, if we think in terms of the 12 links, just leave it, on that level, then if you get rid of ignorance, then you get rid of the links of craving and obtainer, which are attachment, and then you don't, because you get rid of ignorance, you don't build up any more karmic potentials, and you, because of getting rid of craving and the obtainer attitude, you don't activate any of the old karmic impulses. So if you have a countless number of karmic potentials, you've gotten rid of them that way. So, but your question is more specifically that if you do 100,000 vajrasattvas, for example, and you do that absolutely perfectly with the 4 opponent forces, regret and not going to do it again and so on, that how far back do you burn the seeds of karma? You burn the seeds of karma so that they will not give a result. However, because you still have the instincts, of grasping for true existence and so on, you're going to have self-grasping and you're going to build up more karma. So it doesn't, stop the process. I don't know how far back that goes. Mathematically, that seems difficult.
Yes.
That's difficult. I've never actually heard that, an explanation of that. I would think, I don't know. That's a good question to ask Rinpoche.
Okay.
Actually, about the math, I'm not sure.
Pardon?
Regarding the math aspect of it?
The map?
The
Mathematics.
The mathematical aspect of it?
Yeah. It was like,
I'm not a mathematician, so please correct me.
there is a
We need the microphone.
just because something is infinite lives, it doesn't mean it would mean there is infinite karmas right now. Because if we think like on numbers, let's say we have a series of numbers, infinite time, we take 1 times 1 infinite times, it would still be 1, right? Or if we take infinite lives, let's say, every time we add 1, and then we remove 1, it still stays at 1. I'm just saying that the fact that there is infinite lives, it doesn't mean there is right now infinite karmas.
Yes, that's absolutely correct. That let's transpose that out of mathematics to karma. What we haven't taken into effect is that a tremendous amount of karmic potentials have already finished ripening. And so all that is left are so you've taken away one, that's taking away one. And so all that is left are the ones that have not yet ripened, and that would be finite. So those you could, and then, who knows how many have ripened and how many are still left ripened. The Buddha would know, but that's hard for us to know. And we're continually building up more, and continually more are ripening. And remember, it's only the karmic impulses involved with the 10 destructive actions or the 10 constructive actions that are going to be throwing karma. That's not all that we purify. Other destructive or constructive actions done with ignorance are going to ripen into suffering or the suffering of change. Yeah.
And we also don't know how many times you have already purified.
That's the same thing. Well, if we have as I mentioned, if we have purified, just because we have purified killing, this number of mosquitoes, let's say, doesn't mean that we're not going to kill more mosquitoes. So that will be there for sure. But remember, Tsongkhapa said that the karmic seeds that have already ripened are like burnt seeds, and they will prevent us from they will continue to cause us to make the appearance of truly established existence. So the analogy that is used for that is that if you break your leg, it will heal, but you might be left with a limp. Better not to have broken the leg at all. So that's the example that's used.
Just in the terms of the 12 links, in the end, it doesn't really matter how many negative karmic imprints we have in our mental continuum. It's about the 8th and 9th link of craving and grasping that we need to stop.
Right.
But that's when they don't get activated.
Right, and you don't build up new ones. But there's a difference between not being activated because of Vajrasattva mantra and not being activated because of, the voidness.
I have another question to karma. It is said that a very powerful object, like the guru, if you do something in relation to the guru, then the karma ripens faster, or even within this life, or how is this working?
Well, if it is a very strong benefit to if someone is actually your teacher or your parent in this lifetime, and you do very strong harm or benefit to them because of the great benefit that you've received from them, then that will, the strength of the karmic potential is stronger. So it, will come up, more strongly. Now, it might not be a throwing karma that will ripen, but you will, somehow things will go better for you, or worse for you, something like that. Well, faster meaning in this lifetime. But in general, if we, the strength of the karmic potential, the strength of what it will ripen into, into just getting a splinter or, losing your leg, that is what we mean by the strength of what ripens from a karmic potential. That depends on the amount of benefit, not so much that we personally receive, but the amount of benefit that that being can do for others. So taking the life of and what they can achieve in that lifetime. So purposely killing a human being and purposely killing a mosquito, it's different. The strength of or the heaviness is the word. The heaviness of the ripening will differ. And killing, just someone that is, a criminal, or killing Mahatma Gandhi will be, different consequences. A quickie, then, we have another session this evening.
Okay. So what you just mentioned about the difference between purification by means of Vajrasattva versus purification by means of voidness, isn't the power of Vajrasattva based on its connection with voidness?
We're not talking about Vajrasattva, himself, and Vajrasattva's connection with voidness. We're talking about the if you have the non-conceptual cognition of voidness, whether you recite Vajrasattva or not, it's going to have that effect. But just reciting Vajrasattva without any understanding is just going to, it's not going to get rid of the habits of that, destructive behavior. So it will come again. That's the point. Voidness, if you don't build up any more and you don't activate any that's there, the karmic potentials, then it's gone.
So how does the mantra help?
The mantra helps in terms of, and this is a bit of a mystery, I must say, to me as well, but it seems as though it is the power of the, it's exactly what it says in the four opponent powers. It's the power of doing something to counterbalance the negative potential that we've built up. And so I don't really understand how that would burn the seed. I must confess that it would burn the negative potential, so it's not going to ripen at all. But if we build up so much positive, then that will weaken the force, especially if it's the, that's hard with Vajrasattva, I must say. If you have, let's say, killed, this was an issue with the Vietnam War, with any war. If you have, if these veterans have killed many Vietnamese during the war, and then afterwards they adopt a Vietnamese orphan, or do some sort of philanthropy work with Vietnam, it counteracts, just psychologically, the feeling of guilt and so on. So I think it's, sort of in analogy to that, but that is, quite a contrast in terms of not contrast, but connected. You killed some Vietnamese, well, you helped some Vietnamese. Vajrasattva, what is that counter? I really don't know.
Are we perhaps...
you say that from the power of Vajrasattva's prayers, that that if it says in Shantideva that I think it was in Shantideva or wherever it was that Chenrezig blessed or uplifted his mantra, or that his name, that anybody who recited it would be free from fear. So this sort of thing, that the power of the prayer of Vajrasattva or whatever, people use the word bless, but it uplifts, it adds to the power of it from that, from the side of the mantra. But something has to be going, things don't arise from one cause. So it's not just from the magic words of the mantra, that you have to have the state of mind that is going to be receptive to that, and that is not wandering all over the place, so that it can actually be affected by it, and not project onto it self-established existence that this is holy, holy magic words, but do it in a very rational way. I'm doing this so that on the basis of dependent arising, it will deactivate the seeds of karma.
Maybe
So
making
an understanding of dependent arising rather than it's a magical process.
making a relationship with Vajrasattva.
Making a relation, well, yes, in a sense, not now we become friends and we'll go to dinner together. Not that type of relationship, but yes, a relationship, a connection. A connection, I think, is a way to look at that. But these are difficult things. The old Serkong Rinpoche used to say that there are three powerful things in the world. There is machinery, so technical things. I mean, there's a Tibetan word for that, and a classical word for that. So devices, and medicine, and mantra. And I never understood what he meant by mantra. That, you recite, His Holiness recites, and the monks recite Om Mani Padme Hum, several million times. They blow on these pills, and then it, is powerful. That, I thought of it on that level. But I always refer to this present one as the young Serkong Rinpoche, because I know the old one. But the young Rinpoche explained it very well. He said that the reference for that is Gati Gati Paragati Parasamgati Soha. So that's referring to the power of the path, the five paths. And that, like technology and like medicine, are the most powerful things. Which, of course, is correct answer. So.
Wusaji bugi chokshi pedo dam rira lingshi nirde gembadi sangye shingdu migde ulwagi jogun namdak shinla jubaisho giyadam guru ratna mandalakam niyadayami changjub zemjog rinpoche magye banam gegyoche Gewa nyamba mebayang gongne gongdu belwa sho.
So we'll have our last Q&A question. AMA, Ask Me Anything, this evening, 7:30, as usual.